You know, it was Meister Eckhart who said, if the only thing we ever say is thank you, we will have prayed enough. There. That was beautiful. Thank you. So when I came in this morning, is this loud enough? Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. When I came in this morning, I flashed on the first Sunday that Sonia and I had decided we were going to talk about prosperity. And the first song that Keith played was about money. And she and I sat there and went, because what we had hoped in this series was to work with the idea that prosperity is way more than money. But today we are having the money talk. Okay. So she's given me that gift. And money is an essential driving force in society. And what it is most basically is a system of mutual trust. And according to a man whose name I'm going to really slaughter, whose name is Yuval Harari, I think is how you pronounce his name. He wrote a book called Sapiens, and if you haven't read it, it is a phenomenal, it's a little book, but it's a phenomenal book. And he says that money is the most universal and the most efficient system of universal trust that has ever been devised. Because money is a medium of exchange, it allows people and businesses to obtain what they need, and whether it be essentials to thrive on or indulgences to enjoy. So before the development of a medium of exchange, money, which that's what money is, people would barter to obtain goods. So it wasn't very efficient because it didn't provide transferability and it didn't provide divisibility. So here's an example. If somebody has cows, but they need bananas, they must find someone who not only has bananas, but also wants cow meat. What if that individual finds someone who has the need for meat, but no bananas, and can offer only potatoes? To get the meat, the person must find someone who has bananas and who wants potatoes. So do you see where this is going? Okay. But that's not where the problem ends, because even if the person finds someone with whom to trade meat for bananas, they may not consider a bunch of bananas worth a whole cow. They would have to come to some sort of an agreement and devise a way to determine how many bananas are worth a certain part of a cow. Okay? Commodity money solves this problem. Currency. And what I hope that this series has done for you, and what this talk on money will do for you, is to begin to look at money in a different way. Now, I know that a lot of people have carried with them from other places this, oh God, they're going to ask me for money. She's giving the money talk, and it's going to be, oh God, break out your checkbook. That's not what this is about, although you could do that if you want to do that. But what I hope to be able to do today with this talk is to just ask you to be willing to think about money in a different way. Okay? And so it's about currency. So currency has a history. Do you know that in the 17th and 18th century in the United States, colonists used beaver pelts and dried corn as currency? Because they all needed pelts to make clothes and stuff, and they needed corn. Everybody needed corn to be able to plant to have stuff to eat. So currency is created by a perpetual interaction between real, tangible things, a desire for them because they're going to lead to a goal that you need. Okay? So that's why currency exists. The global banking and financial system is built on this sense of trust. Now, I actually checked this out because I didn't believe it when I first read it, but there are not enough precious metals or currency in the world to cover all of the financial transactions that the world makes in any given day. There isn't. The entire system is built upon trust. Trust in an agreed upon value for something that is intangible. So money is valuable because, not only because we want it, because we can use it to get things we think we desire or that we really desire, more than that we need, but usually desire. Otherwise, it's just colored paper. And I don't know how many of you have tried to teach little kids about money, but I remember when we first tried to teach Erica about the value of coins, she never could get why a dime was worth more than a nickel. Because she would look at the two coins, and one was bigger and one was smaller. And in her child's mind, I actually called her and asked her if she remembered when she finally got it. She said she was probably about 10 or 11 years old when she finally accepted the fact that a dime was worth more than a nickel. Okay? So we make these constructs in our mind around the value of money. You look at our paper money. The only thing that's different about it, it's got a different picture and a different number. It's the same size. It's made out of the same kind of paper. And it, in and of itself, it's not worth very much. So just sort of keep that there, okay? I'm going to talk about that, come back to that later. But we have used money and currency as a framework for deciding how things are valued and what we value. So we, in this course on prosperity, have been going through different kinds of prosperity, and we've kind of used the outline of the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and we've been going through each of it on these different topics. So today I'm going to start with, what does financial prosperity represent emotionally? Okay? So money, for some of us, can symbolize security, success, power, and sometimes even happiness. Our relationship with money stems from most especially from our childhood experiences. The expectation that society puts on us from when we were really little. I mean, when I see today how kids are bombarded with, you need to buy this, you need to get this, I'm glad I'm not the parent of a little one anymore, because it is overwhelming sometimes. I want to take a moment to think about where your ideas about money came from. Where did you get your ideas about money? And here are some questions you can ask yourself. What did I learn about money when I was a child? Did I feel that we had enough in my family? Enough food, enough space, enough for shelter, enough for clothes, as well as enough money? Did I feel like I was enough as a child? What is my family's history in terms of money? Look back a few generations if you can, and if you're gifted enough to know that part of your family history. Who made it? Who lost it? What decisions were made because of money or because of the lack of money? All of those things together have created your story about money. And I'm going to share just a little bit about mine. I'm 77, so I have a long history. No. But I came from, both my parents were Depression-era immigrants. And my father was a hard worker. My father said my mother's job was to raise their children and to make sure they got educated. So my mother never worked outside the home. She worked inside the home a lot. And we grew up with a sense that tragedy or financial setback was right around the next corner. Okay? The next shoe that dropped was going to be it. So from the time I was about 7 years old, I had, you're going to know how old I am now, a passbook, a bank book. Okay? And I got it when I received my first communion. So I was raised Roman Catholic, and at about 7 years old, you have this big ceremony where you receive sacraments and you wear a veil and a white dress, and people give you money. And my father took me down to the bank with that money. I didn't get any of it. We went to the bank and we opened a bank account. And it was a bank account that was in my name. And once a month for the rest of my childhood, we went to the bank to deposit 3/4 of my allowance or any extra money I made doing I never got paid for doing errands in the house because that was the price of living there. But I was the oldest I have 35 first cousins. So I was like at the front end, so I spent a lot of time babysitting when I was a youngster. And all of that money most of it went into the bank account. And I'll tell you that I didn't get rid of that passbook until I moved to Texas. That bank, I never took any money out of it. Even when I was in school and I was struggling, taking money out of the bank because you wanted to buy something, not because you needed it to survive or you needed it, just because you wanted to buy it was something we didn't do. It's just not done. Okay, so the universe is very generous. I came out of university. I worked all the time I was in college, full-time, went to school full-time at night, thank you, God. And when I graduated, I went to work on Wall Street. And I went to work in corporate finance, where I got to work with money that had absolutely no meaning to me, because it was so much money that it couldn't be real. I mean, it was like just a bunch of zeros at the end of a front-end number. And the thing that I learned most about that was how important it was for people to have their piece of that intangible nothing, which was really strange. So then I came to Texas, and I went and I worked in finance in Texas when everybody in God wanted to be an oil man. And everybody was going to do oil deals. And I ran into people who had cash, tangible money in a way that I never saw in New York. I mean, I'd have surgeons come, we'd be doing these drilling deals. Everybody wanted to be limited partnerships. They were going to be drilling partnerships. They are going to be oil men. And they would come in and write a check for $4.5 million. Write a check for $3.5 million. Do a financial statement that added up to more money than I ever thought I would ever see in my life. Again, all funny money. And as I went through that part of my career, what I came to realize was I was disconnected from my values. Because I was making money, and I was good at what I did. I was making money that in no way connected to what I thought was valuable. And so it caused me, the end result was I went from there to being the chief financial officer of an oil company, and one day it just hit me and I just left my job. Somebody said I had to do something I thought was unethical or something I didn't really want to do, and they said, you have to do it, it's your job, and I said, it's not anymore. And I picked up my purse and I left. And on the drive home, I realized I never checked with Fred. I was the major breadwinner in our family, and it never occurred to me to ask him if he thought that's what I should do. I had no clue what I was going to do next. My life had come to I can't anymore around money. So I spent a year. It took me an entire year, and I worked with these questions to sort of figure out where it was I fit and what my step forward was going to be. So how do I value myself? Do I think I'm worth something? How am I worth something? Why am I worth something? How do I value my work? Do I think it's good work being worth getting paid for? And obviously, when I left that job, the answer to that question was no. Okay? If I truly valued myself and my work, how would my life be different? And this was the toughest one. What do I spend my money on most? And what does it say about what I value? Think about that. I did that with a class once, and one of the people in the class said, I asked them to keep track of how they spent their money for just a week between classes. And this person came in and said, I give half of my disposable income to Starbucks. And I said, what? And she said, I go to Starbucks on my way to work, and I go to Starbucks on my way home from work every single day. And I said, okay. And she said, you're saying I need to stop that? I said, I'm not saying anything. I'm really glad that you had this inspiration and this enlightenment, but you get to decide. That's only information. You get to decide where that fits in. And so we live, the other half of that, the other side of that is that we live in a culture where enoughness is elusive. And that was a concept that I worked around a lot. Those of you who heard me speak before know that my favorite name for God is El Shaddai. El Shaddai means the God of enoughness, the God who is enough. And that notion of what is enough, for me, supports me in my spiritual, emotional prosperity, around finances. So what's the spiritual meaning of financial prosperity? So part of our spiritual journey around money requires us to be honest about what we think and feel about money, about what it means to us, how much energy it takes up in our lives, and what is our behavior around money? What does the behavior around money say about us, about who we are and what's important to us? Because what you do with money makes a real public statement about what's important to you. And that's neither good nor bad, it just is. Because there's nothing unspiritual or too materialistic about money. It's not either one of those things. It's just part of the living process. And in the past, money was beads and stones and tools and feathers and fish hooks and animal skins. And now we've made the circle, and now we're into colored paper again. So it's not about what it is, the physical thing that it is, but it's what's behind it. So the energy of all things, including money, is already an inherent part of your individual force field. And that individual force field is an essential part of the flow of the universe. Okay, so according to Eric Butterworth, this is what he says MONEY stands for. My own natural energy yield. Okay? It's not separate from you. Your relationship with money is part of how you step into that universal flow. And spirituality that way is about expansion. It's about our growth. And it's about money. And in class, I used this term, I was talking about a term that we use in Italian that's called abbondanza, okay? And I couldn't come up with the right word to explain the energy behind it, but the energy behind it is expansion. So it's that sense of opening up, that sense of sharing it. So you can have abbondanza in love and in prosperity and in money and in joy and in laughter. But it doesn't work if you don't give it away. It's about that expansion. Your soul, excuse me, anybody else having allergy issues this week? Okay, Tom and I were talking about that earlier. It's like, God bless antihistamines. Your soul wants to expand and grow. And it does this by having life experiences. And money is sometimes the tool that allows you to have those life experiences. It's a means to an end. Does this mean that money makes everything perfect? No. Does it mean that money is your source of happiness? Absolutely not. It simply means that money is a tool that will help you to have a life experience you want to have. And the choice is yours. Money is not the answer to everything, but I'm not saying that money is useless. So I'm not going to stand up here and say, if you're having trouble paying the rent, it's not an issue. So please don't read that into this. But the focus that we give to it is where I'm going to go. So financial prosperity gives you the opportunity to have these experiences. And the growth that occurs because of the experience is what further enriches and enlivens your spiritual life. Okay? It's not the thing itself, but how you grow from what it is you experience. If your actions with money are responsible and kind, and here's the key, and also aligned with your values, then that's exactly what the money becomes, a tool to get you there. It's an extension of your energy. When we use money in ways that align with our values, whether it's quitting a job because it wasn't working anymore, or such as supporting causes we believe in, we can invest in personal growth. We practice generosity. Thank you, Christy, because that woman was right in line. Christy said, I should have checked with you before about what I was. It's serendipity works all of the time. It never misses. But it is about practicing generosity. We not only create a positive impact, but we also we get from that giving. Because we get that sense of fulfillment, that sense of, I'm aligning with my purpose. And I'm moving that value barometer further and further up. So I remind you of the statement that the platform person reads in our offertory, which is that this congregation tithes. Now, tithing is a sensitive subject. We probably could do a whole series on tithing. It's the habit of giving. And it's the habit of giving where you're fed. Okay, so yes, it's the church, but for me, it's Al-Anon and World Central Kitchen and St. Jude's Hospital. But it's that sense of making an investment of your material goods in those things that align with your value system. So we talk about that we tithe to organizations that align with our mission. So we are right in that. We are walking, as a congregation, know that you are walking that walk. Because that's what the board, in its wisdom, does every month. I know that they make a decision about where that tithe is going to go and who it will impact and how it will serve. Eric Butterworth, who was my first Unity minister, suggests that we use a powerful affirmation. Reverend Sonia loves affirmations, so I plucked this one out. Okay. This one's really easy, okay? And it is, I accept, I deserve, and I allow. Okay, can you say that with me? I accept, I deserve, and I allow. Because none of this is going to be forced on you. It's what is your soul's calling, and how will you allow your sense of prosperity to manifest? So we work on the realization that we're surrounded by the divine presence, that it's all there just for our claiming. And some people make it hard for God to help you. Because they get real specific about what it needs to look like. Okay, so I need prosperity. I'm going to pray for prosperity, but it needs to look like this. It needs to look like this purse. I have a friend of mine who did, which is why I have a problem with visioning boards. And I know that they're very popular, but she did this visioning board where she had this house and this car and about 5 or 6 months, and she just worked at that board forever. What happened was her husband left her for someone else, and he and his new sweetie bought that house. It was that dream house that she wanted to claim as hers. It manifested. It just didn't manifest to her because it wasn't for her greater good. So when you're looking to do prosperity affirmations, I just invite you to ask for and put a tagline on your request, and it's this or something better. Because our human minds can really limit what God can do in our lives, and so we shouldn't limit God. So just this or something better. And the truth of it is that God will make you prosperous and successful in all of your ways if you don't make it hard for him. The more that you give, the more you receive. It's just a law of the universe. Generosity and gratitude are the building blocks of abundance. So being grateful for what you already have, being generous with what you already have, will only open that faucet to allow that goodness. Because if you only dole it out in little bits, what you do after you dole out your little cup of whatever, you shut the valve. Right? Isn't that what we do? Okay, today I'm going to write a check and it's going to only be for, today I'm going to do, that woman in the store, she had no valve. She dug deep and gave of what she had. And that is our lesson. So, and even the natural world works that way. If you plant one tomato seed, okay, then you get a tomato plant, right? But then you get thousands of tomato seeds. If you've ever put a tomato in your compost pile, you know you will get 1,000 tomato plants, okay? You get plenty of what you've already planted. But you look like a fool if you plant that tomato seed, and then when it's time to harvest it, you go out and you expect oranges. Okay? It works the same way in giving. And I mean, I'm being light about it, but it's the same principle. Put it out there, and you're going to get more of what you put out there. Don't put it out there or put out something different, you're going to get more of that. You see, what we need in order to express financial prosperity is more than money. It's faith, and it's the original meaning of the word faith, which is trust. We tend to think about faith as something, I believe in this or this or this or that. That's not what the original meaning of the word faith is. The original meaning of the word faith is abiding trust. And sometimes it's faith in the unknown, trust in the unknown. But what I need in order to be financially prosperous is a flow of creativity. I need ideas. I need a recognition that I always have within me exactly what I need to express who I am in the outside world, because all I am is a conduit of God. I've already got it. It's already there. There's a Chinese proverb that I love that says, when you learn, teach. And we talk about that in Unity. So we teach what we need to learn. And when you get, give. Whatever it is, give a piece of whatever it is that you get. See, a neighbor brings you a basket of vegetables from their garden. They're giving, you're getting. But now it's your turn to give out of that basket. Okay? Ask for what you want. But here's the key. Then you have to move your feet in the direction of your dreams. And so it is. Namaste.